There is a quiet stillness all around you. A gentle calm stretches softly in every direction. Lights drift slowly, far away, moving without urgency. A soft glow rests quietly, faint and steady. It does not demand attention. It does not need understanding. Everything is calm here. Everything is steady. You can simply rest, without effort, without thought. The air feels lighter. Breath flows slowly, naturally. Inhale, exhale. Time and space continue quietly, stretching beyond what the mind can hold. You can drift alongside them, calm, patient, and weightless. There is a quiet stillness, a gentle presence that surrounds everything. Nothing needs to change. Nothing needs to be followed. The mind softens in its own time, loosening its hold on small, unnecessary thoughts. They drift quietly, becoming lighter as they move. Breathing slows, easier, almost unnoticed. Inhale, exhale. Space is already here, stretching softly in all directions, all around you. Wide, calm, unbothered. A gentle hush drifts through the air, softening awareness. It feels as if the universe itself is resting, settled into natural calm. Inhale, exhale. Nothing begins here. Nothing moves toward an end. Only calm presence. Simply present. The body settles naturally. Breathing moves in and out. Slow and soft. Space stretches on, wide and open, offering nothing to do, nowhere to go, and all the time needed to rest. Space stretches quietly, wide and open, offering gentle breathing room. Nothing presses in, nothing crowds close. Inhale, exhale. There is space between everything, and that space feels kind. Thoughts can spread out, becoming lighter, thinner, less defined. Some drift away entirely, unnoticed. Distances rest comfortably here. Far away feels gentle. Near feels unimportant. Silence drifts slowly, calm and steady. It does not arrive suddenly. It does not leave. It simply remains, steady and even. The openness feels supportive, like a wide field with nothing demanding attention. Awareness can rest gently here, floating without direction. Inhale, exhale. The idea of emptiness softens, turning into breathing room. Room for rest, room for stillness, room for sleep to arrive naturally. Time stretches quietly, moments blending softly. The mind can float freely. Listening can fade. Nothing begins, nothing ends. Only gentle, quiet presence. Faint nebula glows, spread softly across distant regions of space. Colors drift, blending quietly into one another. Inhale, exhale. Light from distant stars reaches gently across the void, steady and calm. No urgency, no flicker of demand. Just soft illumination that warms the edges of awareness. Auroras shimmer on distant planets, flowing slowly like quiet waves. Shapes shift gently, barely noticed, each color fading into the next. Inhale, exhale. The soft cosmic light creates a feeling of calm expansiveness. Eyes need not focus. Mind need not follow. Awareness floats lightly, drifting with every shimmer, every glow, every gentle beam. Time continues quietly. Moments blend into light and color. Everything here exists gently, safely, and without intention. Breathing stays slow, smooth, and effortless. Stars rest quietly in the distance, scattered gently across space. They do not flicker with urgency. They do not compete for attention. Each star shines in its own calm way, steady and patient, as if time itself moves more slowly around them. Inhale, exhale. There is no rush in this light, no signal, no message to decode. It simply moves, calmly and consistently, whether it is noticed or not. Stars do not ask to be watched. They do not need to be counted or named. They remain where they are, glowing quietly. Their steadiness feels reassuring, predictable, safe. Inhale, exhale. Light moves outward from each star, soft and endless, softly and endlessly. The mind can rest with this steadiness. Nothing is urgent. Nothing requires attention. Time stretches gently around the stars, soft and unmeasured. They exist without hurry, without anticipation, content to remain, shining slowly, endlessly, in calm openness. Soft interstellar clouds stretch across the void, light and airy. Colors drift gently, pale blues, muted purples, and soft grays blending endlessly. Inhale, exhale. The clouds move slowly without effort, forming shapes that fade and shift softly. No need to notice each curve. No need to name each color. Every form exists gently, softly, without urgency. They float freely, drifting, expanding, contracting, as if breathing with space itself. Inhale, exhale. Awareness can settle here, among these floating clouds. Nothing presses in, nothing demands attention. Just calm, quiet expanses, endlessly vast. Time continues softly, moments stretching like the clouds themselves. Everything drifts at its own pace, smooth and unhurried. Planets move quietly through space, following their paths without hurry. They do not rush. They do not pause. Inhale, exhale. Each planet exists on its own, complete and self-contained. There is no need to picture them clearly. They are simply there, quiet, present. Planets circle gently, repeating the same calm motion over and over. Repetition brings comfort here. Nothing surprises the mind. Inhale, exhale. Time feels gentle, unimportant, soft. There is no schedule, no event approaching. The planets continue on their quiet paths, content in steady motion. The body may feel heavier, more settled. Muscles relax. Breathing slows, smooth and even. Nothing is required. Nothing is expected. Planets remain quiet companions, while the mind drifts further into rest. Galaxies drift quietly through space, moving at a pace that feels almost still. Their motion is so slow it barely feels like movement at all. Inhale, exhale. They turn gently, without effort, without intention. Nothing here rushes forward. Nothing pulls back. Each galaxy exists in its own calm balance, floating through the vast openness without strain. Shapes form softly, then shift gently. Every motion stands alone. Missing one moment changes nothing about the next. The mind does not need to follow. It can rest as everything continues quietly. Inhale, exhale. Galaxies do not hurry to become anything else. They simply remain, turning slowly, calmly, endlessly. Their movement feels like a slow, steady breath of the universe. In, out. Time feels soft, wide. Moments stretch until they blend into calm. Everything merges into a smooth, continuous stillness. The moon rests quietly in the darkness, steady and unchanged. Its light drifts softly, touching nothing urgently. Inhale, exhale. Nighttime stillness gathers naturally. Quiet settles, movement slows. The moon exists simply as it is, distant and calm, neutral, steady, calm. Breathing stays slow and easy. Muscles continue to relax. Awareness can drift in and out like light clouds across a dark sky. Inhale, exhale. Nothing stirs. Nothing waits. Only quiet stillness spreads gently through space, allowing mind and body to sink further into rest. Faint light trails stretch across the darkness, flowing slowly like gentle rivers. They move with quiet grace, fading and reforming softly. Inhale, exhale. The trails guide the mind gently without direction, like soft ribbons floating in space. No need to focus, no need to follow. The colors shimmer subtly, soothing awareness. Each glow blends seamlessly into the next, calm and unhurried. Inhale, exhale. The mind can float along these paths, drifting without effort, weightless and peaceful. Time stretches gently with each moving light. All is quiet. All is calm. All is safe. Comets glide softly through the void, trailing gentle streams of faint light. Meteors drift quietly, small and unhurried, floating along cosmic paths. Inhale, exhale. Tiny particles of cosmic dust move in slow, steady patterns. They sparkle faintly, but nothing demands observation. Everything drifts effortlessly, with a soft rhythm that soothes the mind. Inhale, exhale. The motions are gentle, predictable, and calming. Awareness can float alongside them, weightless, drifting naturally with each passing light. Nothing is urgent. Nothing requires focus. Time continues, quiet and expansive. Far away, black holes rest silently in the void. Nothing emerges from them. Nothing rushes toward them. Inhale, exhale. Their gravity is gentle, a quiet presence that bends space without sound. They simply exist, calm and steady, like a silent, deep pause in the universe. Nearby stars and dust flow past slowly, as if respecting their quiet. No danger, no urgency, only the calm pull of natural order. Inhale, exhale. Awareness can float lightly near these voids, resting in their stillness. Everything drifts slowly, naturally, weightless. No effort is required, no attention is needed. Time continues quietly, endlessly. Space vibrates softly, imperceptible to the mind, like a quiet hum. These vibrations ripple gently, moving through everything around them. Inhale, exhale. Each vibration is calm, predictable, repeating slowly like a heartbeat. They create a rhythm that carries the mind into peaceful stillness. Awareness can settle into these subtle pulses, weightless, floating. Breathing slows, muscles release tension. Inhale, exhale. Nothing changes abruptly. Nothing demands attention. Everything is soft, gentle, endlessly calm. Time blends into rhythm. Moments stretch and dissolve into quiet. Moons glide silently around distant planets. Their paths are steady, predictable, and comforting. Inhale, exhale. Each moon moves in quiet harmony, repeating its orbit endlessly. They circle gently, without haste, without pause. The rhythm of their motion feels like a slow, steady heartbeat of the universe. Muscles relax, breathing slows. Inhale, exhale. Awareness floats alongside these quiet companions, drifting in sync. Nothing changes suddenly. Nothing interrupts. Every movement is calm, soothing, endlessly steady. Time blends with motion. Every orbit carries the mind further into rest. Time in space moves gently, without urgency. Moments pass quietly, blending into one another. Inhale, exhale. There is no need to count, no need to hold on to any moment. Everything flows quietly, carrying the mind gently along. Awareness can loosen. Breathing remains slow and even. The mind may float freely, drifting without effort. Space and time create a calm rhythm that asks nothing of the listener. Nothing needs attention. Nothing needs effort. Inhale, exhale. Moments continue to pass unnoticed. The universe drifts calmly through time. Everything blends into soft stillness. Nebulas, distant light, and cosmic dust float quietly through space. They do not demand observation. They do not rush. Inhale, exhale. Everything simply exists, calm and unobtrusive. Colors shift softly, Forms move slowly, gently, without demand. The mind may notice briefly, or not at all. Either is fine. Time here feels gentle and soft. Nothing moves quickly. Everything drifts quietly at its own pace. Inhale, exhale. Breathing continues naturally, slow and effortless. Nothing needs to be tracked. Nothing requires attention. Only the gentle, constant presence of space allows rest to arrive naturally. The quiet continues on its own. Nothing needs to be added. Nothing needs to be removed. There is a calm presence here, steady, unmoving. Breathing happens naturally now. No effort, no direction in and out. Space remains wide and open, not empty, just spacious, comfortably so. Thoughts may still appear from time to time. They can drift through gently. There is no need to follow them. They soften on their own and fade when they are ready. The universe does not hurry. It never has. Light travels quietly, not to arrive, not to announce itself, only to continue. You may notice the weight of the body resting more fully now. Muscles loosen, the face softens, the jaw releases. Nothing else is required. Faraway stars remain exactly as they are. They do not react. They do not change. They simply exist. Their light is calm, patient, unconcerned with time. There is something reassuring about that, a sense that nothing is being measured, nothing is being judged, just presence. Breath moves slowly, even more slowly now, in-out. The space between thoughts grows wider, more comfortable, more familiar. Silence settles gently, not sudden, not complete. Just enough sway. Galaxies turn at a pace too slow to notice movement that feels like stillness, stillness that feels safe. Nothing here asks for attention, nothing competes. If awareness drifts, that is fine. If it returns, that is fine too. Everything is allowed. The sound of the voice becomes part of the background, like distant wind, like soft night air. Words blur slightly. Meaning loosens. That is perfectly okay. Time stretches gently. It does not press forward, it does not pull back. Moments dissolve into one another, edges soften. The universe has no schedule, no deadline, no expectation. You are free to rest within it. Breathing continues quietly. Smooth, effortless. In, out. Thoughts slow. Heavier. Less defined. Some disappear completely. Planets move along their paths without concern. No rush, no hesitation. They repeat the same gentle motion over and over. Repetition is soothing here. Predictable, safe. The mind enjoys predictability when it is tired. It begins to let go. Awareness sinks deeper, like settling into warm water. Nothing changes quickly. Nothing surprises. The moon remains quiet, unchanging, distant. Its presence asks for nothing. It simply is. Nighttime stretches wide. Still supportive. The body feels heavier now, comfortably heavy. The surface beneath you holds your weight. No adjustment needed, just rest. Breathing slows again, barely noticeable. in out. Space continues quietly, whether it is observed or not. Stars shine, galaxies turn, dust drifts, all without effort. You can drift too. Listening becomes optional. Words pass without being held. Silence fills the spaces between sentences. Not empty, just calm. If sleep arrives now, nothing is missed. There is no lesson here, no message to remember. Only rest. Breathing deepens, slows in out. The body understands it is safe. Movement exists without purpose, and that feels comforting. Purpose dissolves, effort dissolves. Only presence remains. The voice stays soft, steady, unchanging. Like a distant sound in the night. Thoughts appear like thin clouds, transparent passing. Nothing needs organizing. Nothing needs remembering. Everything important can wait. Time becomes less noticeable. Minutes stretch or disappear. Rest has already begun. Stillness deepens. Words soften. Spacing widens. Nothing changes. And that is comforting. Stars remain steady. Galaxies remain slow. Space remains wide. Repetition feels gentle, like waves, like breathing. Awareness fades further. The body sinks fully. Silence holds everything. There is no difference, only rest. Stillness continues, no beginning, no ending. Only calm presence stretching quietly onward. Breathing remains slow, natural, in out. Nothing else needs to be said. The universe remains. So do you, at rest. Stillness continues quietly. Nothing changes. Breathing moves on its own. In out. Space remains. Wide open. No movement that needs noticing. Light drifts far away. Soft, steady. Thoughts no longer hold shape. They pass without sound. The body rests completely. Supported, held. Nothing waits. Nothing calls. Silence stretches comfortably. Moments dissolve. Time loosens. There is no direction, only presence. Breathing slows. In, out. Awareness fades slightly more. The voice feels distant now, like night air. Words soften, meaning thins. Silence fills the space, not empty, just calm. The universe continues without sound. Stars remain unaware. Galaxies turn unnoticed. Everything is allowed to rest. Nothing needs attention. Listening becomes optional. The mind drifts freely. No effort, no thought. Breathing remains. Slow, natural. In, out. Stillness deepens. Further, further. Nothing arrives. Nothing leaves. Only quiet. Only rest. The voice blends into silence. Words appear less often, then barely, then not at all. Space holds everything. Gently, without change. Breathing continues. Unnoticed. Time fades. Awareness rests. There is nothing more. Stillness remains, and remains, and remains. Space has no edge, no wall, no boundary to reach. It continues quietly in every direction. Light moves through space without effort, without urgency. Some light travels so far that it reaches places long after it first began. Stars do not rush. They remain steady, patient, unchanged. A star can shine quietly for a very long time without needing to be noticed. Some stars exist alone. Others rest near many others. All of them remain calm. Space between stars is wide and gentle and forgiving. That distance allows everything to move slowly, to remain peaceful. Galaxies drift through space holding billions of stars without strain. They turn slowly, so slowly that motion feels like rest. Each galaxy follows its own path, never colliding, never hurrying. Nothing pushes them. Nothing pulls them too quickly. Space allows movement without pressure. Planets travel quietly around their stars. They follow familiar paths over and over. Repetition brings calm. Predictability brings rest. Some planets move in silence with thick clouds or frozen surfaces. Others are warm or distant or dark. All of them remain quiet, unchanging, patient. A planet does not wonder where it is going. It simply moves. Moons circle gently, keeping steady distance. Their motion is slow, soft, reliable. The moon near Earth moves quietly through the night without calling attention. Its light is reflected, not created, and that makes it gentle. Moonlight does not rush. It rests. Night exists naturally in space. Darkness is not empty. It is calm. Darkness allows rest for stars, for planets, for the mind. Space is cold, but not harsh. It is quiet, but not lonely. Silence here feels wide open, supportive. There are clouds in space made of dust and gas. They drift slowly, changing shape over long stretches of time. These clouds do not hurry. They take their time. Some clouds eventually become stars. Others remain clouds. Nothing is forced. Time behaves differently in space. It stretches, it softens. Moments do not pile up. They drift. The universe does not keep count. There is no schedule. Movement happens without awareness. Breathing continues the same way. In, out. Space has no sound, yet it feels peaceful. Silence here is complete and gentle. Objects move without friction. Nothing slows them suddenly. Nothing stops them abruptly. Smooth motion creates calm. Asteroids drift quietly far apart. They do not collide often. They simply float. Some have traveled unchanged for a very long time. They carry stillness with them. Comets move slowly from far away, returning gently. They appear and disappear without disturbance. Nothing reacts. Nothing panics. Space accepts everything as it is. Even empty areas are not truly empty. There is always something drifting, something resting. The universe expands quietly without sound. There is more space now than before. And that expansion is gentle. Nothing tears. Nothing breaks. Light continues outward in all directions. Some light will never be seen, and that is fine. Not everything needs to be observed. Your awareness does not need to follow. It can rest. Breathing slows naturally. In, out. Gravity exists everywhere but softly. It holds things together without effort. Stars hold planets. Planets hold moons. Everything is supported. Even you are supported. The body understands how to rest. Muscles soften. Thoughts loosen. Nothing needs solving. Nothing needs remembering. Space remains unchanging, steady. Galaxies continue turning slowly. Stars continue shining quietly. Darkness continues comfortably. Time fades into background. The voice becomes distant, like air moving gently. Words become softer. Meaning becomes optional. Awareness drifts. Silence grows wider. Breathing continues. In, out. Nothing arrives. Nothing leaves. Only calm. Only rest. The universe remains. So do you. At rest. Space is not empty. Even in its quietest regions, something is always present. There is faint light, distant motion, and slow, patient change. Nothing in the universe is truly still, even when it appears calm. Far from Earth, between the stars, thin clouds of gas drift endlessly. These clouds move so slowly that millions of years pass without urgency. Atoms meet, separate, and meet again, guided only by gravity and time. This slow movement is the natural rhythm of space. Stars are born inside these quiet clouds. At first, nothing seems to happen. Gas gathers gently, almost reluctantly, pulled inward by its own weight. Over time, pressure increases, heat rises, and light begins to form. A star does not rush into existence. It takes patience, measured in millions of years. Once formed, stars shine steadily for most of their lives. They burn calmly, balancing gravity with energy. Our own sun has done this for billions of years. Every second, it converts mass into light, without sound or interruption. This process feels peaceful, because it is constant and reliable. Light from distant stars travels quietly through space. It does not hurry. Some of the light reaching Earth tonight began its journey before humans existed. It crossed galaxies, past empty regions, and continued without awareness. Light does not tire. It simply moves. Planets orbit stars in slow, repeating paths. These orbits are not perfectly circular, but they are stable. Day after day, year after year, planets return to familiar positions. This repetition creates a sense of order in the universe. Predictable motion is one of space's most calming features. Beyond planets, moons drift alongside their worlds. Some are smooth and icy. Others are rocky and marked by ancient impacts. Many moons hide oceans beneath frozen surfaces. These oceans remain dark, silent, and untouched by light. Yet they exist, quietly waiting. Asteroids float between planets, remnants of early formation. They spin slowly, shaped by collisions long forgotten. Most will never touch anything again. They will continue their gentle paths around the sun, unchanged. Farther still, comets rest in distant regions of cold. When they approach a star, they awaken briefly. Ice turns to vapor, forming soft, glowing tails. Afterward, they return to darkness, resting again for thousands of years. Galaxies themselves rotate with graceful slowness. Billions of stars move together like a calm current. From a distance, galaxies appear still, but within them, motion never stops. Their rotation takes hundreds of millions of years to complete a single turn. Between galaxies lies vast emptiness. This space feels endless and quiet. Yet even here, particles exist, and energy flows faintly. The universe never truly ends, it simply expands. Expansion does not feel dramatic. It happens gently, everywhere at once. Space stretches without sound, creating more distance between galaxies. This expansion has been occurring since the beginning of time. Time itself moves differently in space. Without sunrise or sunset, moments blend together. There is no urgency, no schedule, no expectation, only continuation. Black holes exist in silence. They do not pull violently unless something comes too close. Most remain calm, slowly rotating, shaping space around them. They are not cosmic monsters, but natural results of gravity. Even the most powerful events in the universe happen without sound. Explosions, collisions, and stellar deaths unfold silently. Sound requires air, and space has none. This silence is absolute and complete. When we observe the universe, we are always looking into the past. Distance equals time. The farther we look, the older the light becomes. This gives space a timeless quality. Everything in the universe follows simple rules. Gravity pulls, energy flows, matter responds. These rules do not change, and that stability brings calm. Nothing in space rushes you. Nothing demands attention. It exists whether observed or not. As Earth rotates, space remains unchanged. Stars rise and fall in the sky, but they continue their paths regardless. This indifference is peaceful. The universe does not judge. It does not hurry. It simply continues. And that continuation is endless. Space often feels distant, yet it is quietly present all around. Even now, beyond the thin layer of air that surrounds Earth, space continues without effort or direction. It does not rush. It does not wait. It simply exists, calm and unbothered. The universe has been expanding for a very long time, but that expansion is gentle, not explosive. Galaxies move apart slowly, as if giving one another more room to breathe. This movement is so gradual that nothing feels like it is changing, and that is part of what makes space comforting to think about. Light travels through space without sound. There is no noise, no vibration, no pressure. Even the brightest stars shine in complete silence. When starlight reaches Earth, it has already traveled for years, sometimes millions of years, carrying no urgency at all. That light does not care when it arrives. It does not mind if it is noticed or ignored. It simply continues forward until it fades. Many stars visible in the night sky no longer exist in the form we imagine. Some have changed, and some have quietly burned out. Yet their light continues drifting onward, calm and unchanged by what happens next. Space allows this. It holds the past and the present at the same time, without conflict. Nothing needs to be corrected or explained. Planets move in paths that repeat again and again. They do not rush to complete their orbits. They take the time they need. A year on one planet can be far longer than a year on Earth, and that difference carries no importance. Time in space is flexible, unbothered by schedules or expectations. Everything happens when it happens. Between stars and planets, there are vast regions where almost nothing happens at all. These areas are not empty in a harsh way. They are open and quiet, filled with thin traces of dust and drifting particles. Even here, nothing feels unfinished. Space does not require activity to feel complete. Gravity moves through space gently. It does not pull suddenly or violently across great distances. Its influence spreads slowly, shaping galaxies over immense spans of time. Stars gather into calm spirals. Clusters form without sound or effort. Nothing needs to be forced. The temperature of space itself is very cold, but not in a sharp or uncomfortable way. It is simply neutral, steady, and unchanged. There is no sensation there, no discomfort, no awareness. Space does not react, it does not respond. It allows everything to be as it is. Comets drift for thousands of years before briefly passing near a star. Most of their journey is quiet and dark. There is no audience, no destination to reach quickly. Their movement is slow, patient, and unconcerned. When they pass, they leave without hesitation and continue onward. Even the largest galaxies rotate slowly. One full turn can take hundreds of millions of years. Nothing notices the motion while it happens. From the inside, everything feels still. This kind of movement asks for no attention and demands no understanding. Cosmic dust floats between stars, forming gentle clouds that take millions of years to change shape. These clouds are not rushing to become anything else. They simply drift, thin and quiet, responding only to subtle forces. Eventually, some may form stars, but even that process is unhurried. Space has no center that needs to be found. There is no edge that must be reached. Every point exists equally, without hierarchy or importance. Nothing is closer to meaning than anything else. As Earth moves through space, the motion is smooth and unnoticed. The planet travels thousands of kilometers each hour, yet nothing feels fast. The movement blends into stillness. Day and night arrive without effort and then pass. The universe does not require observation. It continues whether it is watched or not. Stars shine without witnesses. Planets orbit without attention. Space remains calm, patient, and endlessly present, allowing everything within it to slow down naturally and remain at ease. Far beyond the familiar stars, space continues to reveal quiet behaviors that are easy to overlook. Some regions of the universe are so calm that particles may travel for years without encountering anything at all. In these places, motion feels almost optional. Nothing resists, nothing interrupts, and nothing asks for attention. There are stars that do not shine brightly but instead glow softly, releasing energy so slowly that they appear almost still. These stars can remain unchanged for billions of years. They burn their fuel carefully without urgency, maintaining a steady presence that does not demand to be noticed. In space, temperature does not spread the way it does on Earth. Heat does not drift or rise. It remains exactly where it is, unless something carries it away. This creates an environment where warmth and cold exist side by side without conflict. Everything stays where it belongs. Some planets do not orbit stars directly. They move quietly through space on their own, unbound and solitary. These wandering planets do not glow or reflect light. They drift silently through darkness, unnoticed and unaffected by anything nearby. Dust in space is finer than smoke and thinner than breath. It gathers slowly, often taking millions of years to change shape. These clouds are not rushing to become stars. They simply exist, floating gently, responding only to subtle forces over vast periods of time. Magnetic fields stretch through space invisibly. They guide charged particles along smooth paths, forming soft arcs and quiet flows. These fields are not seen, but they are felt by the particles that move within them, guiding motion without pressure. Some stars pulse gently, growing slightly brighter and then dimmer again over long cycles. These changes happen so slowly that they feel more like breathing than movement. Nothing about the process is sharp or sudden. There are regions in space where sound waves can exist, carried through thin clouds of gas. These sounds are far below the range of human hearing. They are deep, slow vibrations, unfolding over thousands of years, too calm to ever feel like noise. Time behaves differently near massive objects. It slows down slightly, stretching moments without stopping them. This happens quietly, without sensation, allowing time itself to move gently and unevenly across space. Light can bend as it passes near large objects, curving softly instead of traveling straight. This bending happens smoothly, without disruption. The light continues onward, calm and unchanged by the experience. Some galaxies have shapes that remain stable for billions of years. Their arms rotate slowly, maintaining graceful patterns that never rush to complete themselves. From within, everything feels still. Atoms in space can remain excited for long periods before releasing energy. On Earth, this happens quickly. In space, it can take hours or longer. Even energy learns patience in the quiet of the universe. There are places where starlight never reaches. These regions are not empty in a dramatic way. They are simply dark, calm, and undisturbed, holding space without needing illumination. The universe contains vast amounts of matter that cannot be seen directly. It does not shine or glow. It simply exists, influencing motion gently and silently without ever revealing itself. Even now, Earth moves through a stream of tiny particles left behind by ancient stars. Most pass unnoticed, blending into the background of space without making an impact or causing disturbance. Nothing in space insists on being understood. Processes unfold whether they are named or not. Motion continues without explanation. The universe remains calm, steady, and unbothered, allowing everything within it to slow naturally and rest in its own quiet rhythm. Language thins, becoming gentle sound more than information. Words float softly, drifting past without needing to be held. Inhale, exhale. Meaning becomes optional. Understanding is unnecessary. Thoughts may appear, then fade naturally into quiet. Awareness can settle, loose and weightless. The rhythm of the voice is steady, predictable, unhurried. Inhale, exhale. Time blends softly. Moments stretch and edges dissolve. The listener may feel weightless, floating in the calm expanse of space. Nothing must be remembered. Nothing must be observed. Everything rests as it is. Asteroid belts move quietly through space, circling softly in endless paths. They do not hurry. They do not collide. Inhale, exhale. Comets glide slowly, trailing faint tails of light behind them. Their motion is gentle, predictable, almost weightless. Each small object drifts on its own rhythm, perfectly unbothered. Rings of planets spin, forming delicate patterns that shift slowly, barely noticeable. Nothing rushes forward. Nothing is missed. Inhale, exhale. Time stretches around these movements, calm and steady. Everything drifts at its own pace, creating a quiet cosmic rhythm. The mind can float freely here, resting with every orbit, every rotation, every gentle pass. Space feels alive, but only in the softest way. Nothing demands attention. Everything simply exists, moving gently, endlessly, without effort. The universe continues quietly, without pause, without urgency. It stretches endlessly, softly, without needing observation. Inhale. Exhale. There is no end. There is no next step. There is only calm. Light drifts softly from stars. Galaxies turn slowly. Planets float on calm paths. Nebulas and dust remain gentle, unhurried, optional to observe. Awareness may fade completely, or it may linger, light and weightless. Either way, nothing matters. Everything is allowed to rest. No story begins here, no story ends. Only quiet continues, only calm drifts, only presence remains. Breathing slows even more, merging with the rhythm of space. All is steady, all is calm, all is simply present. And so, the mind and body drift deeper, deeper into quiet, into rest. As the cosmos stretches endlessly, softly around you, space does not change its behavior as attention fades. It continues in the same quiet way, whether it is noticed or not. Movement carries on gently, without direction and without urgency. Nothing in the distance is asking to be followed. Nothing nearby needs to be understood. Stars remain where they are, not holding their light, not pushing it away. Their glow does not brighten or dim in response to thought. It stays even. It stays patient. Time does not gather itself here. Moments stretch softly, blending into one another. There is no signal marking what comes next. There is no need to track where this moment ends. Space allows stillness to exist without effort. It does not require awareness to continue. It does not ask for focus. The universe holds motion and rest at the same time. Some things move. Some things remain. Neither state needs explanation. Distance becomes gentle when nothing is measured. Far and near lose their meaning. Everything feels evenly placed. Thought can slow here without consequence. Attention can loosen without loss. Nothing is waiting to be completed. Space does not keep count. It does not divide moments into before or after. It simply remains present. And as everything continues in this quiet way, there is nothing else that needs to happen.